What happens when you take one part etiquette expert, marry her to a master responsible plumber, and mix in large quantities of social media? You get a plumber who knows how to teach other tradesmen where and how to find business via the internet and in person and with style. Please join me in welcoming Julie and Roger Wakefield, who've not only built a very successful business, but made their marriage survive and thrive in the process. Hi, and welcome to Coffee with Claire. As you regular viewers and listeners know, we're always meeting and talking with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and those who give back and have fun. My guests today are Julie and Roger Wakefield. Julie and Roger own and operate Texas Green Plumbing in Richardson, Texas. Julie is the vice president and office manager, and Roger is the responsible master plumber. Together, they run a full-service plumbing company, and they each own and operate other businesses as well. Julie owns JW Etiquette, and Roger is the inspiration behind the Expert Plumber. Please join me in welcoming Julie and Roger. Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you guys today.
We're glad to be here.
So this is a really interesting matchup here. It's not kind of like what you think about typically when you think about plumbing. It's like, oh, we've got somebody that's really stylish over here, and we got a plumber that's like in social media that, you know, is going gangbusters in the social media world. I mean, you guys are really changing the way people receive your information as well as contact you and actually learn, which I love as an educator, that, you know, you're incorporating and sprinkling in all of this education around what you're doing, because I think a consumer that knows what they're doing and understands what they're buying is much more willing to pay you, number one, and number two, refer you, you know, and those are, of course, lifebloods of business. So how did you even get this Texas Green Plumbing? I mean, Texas Green and plumbing to me don't quite go together, but I'm sure there's a reason that you have that name.
So are you asking, how did I really get Roger?
Yeah, how did you get so lucky? That's what the bottom line is
my
today.
God. You know,
how did you get so lucky?
You are so good at reading subliminal things, Julie. That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, well, that's not the first time we've had that. How did this happen?
I know. Was this an accident?
It was a happy accident for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, well, let's go there. How did that happen? How did you guys get together?
Oh, through Facebook.
Really?
Yes.
You guys leverage social media even for your relationship. That's awesome.
I'm going to let you tell this story.
We've actually... She got lucky and she saw my picture and she sent me a message, and I said, well, maybe. I said swipe right or swipe left. I don't remember what it was. Okay, maybe that's not the truth.
Whichever the one is the good one.
Yeah. Which way's the keeper? Yeah, that's the way I'm going to go. Actually, Julie and I knew each other in high school.
Oh, okay.
I went to Garland. She went to North Garland, so we knew each other. And I say we knew each other. We hung around with a lot of people that knew each other.
Okay.
And we had seen each other and spoken, but that was about it. And Julie lived in South Texas and was getting ready to move back home to the Dallas area. Mm-hmm. And I saw her picture on Facebook one day, and I sent a message that says, hey, how are you? And she says, you know, I'm great. I'm getting ready to move back home, recently single, and headed that direction. I said, you know, when you get to Dallas, call me, and I'll take you out and show you the town. It's changed a lot. That's pretty much about where it started.
It is. It is.
That's awesome. So you guys reconnected. And then you guys got together, decided, well, this might work, so let's go ahead and get married. And now you've got this awesome marriage, as well as these businesses that are also just going like crazy.
Oh, wait, you skipped the best part.
Pardon me.
The first time I kissed her, it knocked her out.
I can't believe you just said that.
What happened?
I can't believe you went there.
Did you?
I'm sorry. See, there's truth in this story.
What happened?
I passed out.
Really
I
and truly?
Oh, yeah.
No, really.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did.
Like, was he like cutting off your circulation?
I had her by the throat. So yeah, it's a trick I learned a long time ago.
God.
It's the plumber's way.
Absolutely. You ever seen the Karate Kid? There's a trick in there y'all missed.
No, so what happened was I had to sell a home in South Texas. I had a very short time, and so our house had been under renovations, and I'd gotten a job here, and I had like 4 weeks to get my house ready to sell it,
Oh,
move up
my
here, and
goodness.
start my new job.
Yeah.
So I was up late. I wasn't eating right. I was emotionally, physically
Excuses.
exhausted. I know. I'm just being real. Can I be real?
Yes, of course, please. It's Coffee But Clear. We want authenticity.
So I was exhausted, and I moved up here, and it was the night before I had to go back to finish cleaning up and everything before we were getting ready to close on the home, and we'd gone out to eat, and he had actually said, my son was 14 at the time. He said, because we moved up here, we had no furniture. I mean, we just moved.
Yeah.
And we're in an apartment, and he said, bring your son. And so we went to Dave and Buster's for 4 hours, and Roger's just like feeding him money. Like, here, go play games.
So to make a long story short, we get back to her house. We sat out front and talked for a little while, and she says, look, I really do have to go to bed.
I was
So
crashing.
I walk her
sure.
upstairs.
I was tired.
I kiss her goodnight at the door. Apparently, it was a lot more powerful kiss than I thought.
He so takes too much credit.
Because I go back down to the Jeep and I head home and I stop to get gas and the phone rings and it's her number and I pick it up and I say, hey, honey, how are you? And she says, this is Will, Julie's son. I said, okay. Said, Mom got dizzy and passed out and I don't know what to do. And I hear her in the background. So I said, look, I'll be back over there in a minute. So I go back over there and I walk in. I said, look, if you wanted me not to leave, all you had to do is say so. But anyway, that's it's a great story. That's how we ended up together.
It
Oh,
is
my
funny.
goodness,
It
that's
is funny.
awesome.
And he says, he always says, I swept you off your feet on
Yeah.
the first date,
And then
which is kind of true.
after that, the rest is history.
It
Yeah,
is.
The rest
wow.
is history.
Wow, what a Cinderella story. Only it doesn't include shoes or whatever. So
Includes
work on
lots
that
of
next
shoes.
So, I know that, Julie, you're an educator, and you've also got a business background. So, how did Roger convince you to work in this plumbing business, or did you just kind of do it on your own and say, you know what, I love what you're doing, I want to help you build your business? How'd that go?
Yes. So what happened was he had an entrepreneurial seizure, as Michael Gerber says, and quit his job on a Friday, and we started Texas Green Plumbing on a Monday.
Oh, wow.
And it was that quick. And
bet.
he
You are about quick, aren't you?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
and so he was actually, his business was really growing, and because when people need a plumber, they need a plumber now.
Right.
People need etiquette training. They can think about it for a while and go through a process, and maybe not.
Sure.
So the sales cycle for a plumber is much shorter. So he was really taking off. And the business was owning him. So he was trying to run calls during the day. He was trying to do paperwork at night. He was physically and emotionally exhausted. And I just kind of saw that he needed a lot of help. And it wasn't, I don't know that it was really a decision that we sat and talked about. I think it was just, look, you've got receipts everywhere. We've got to start getting some organization here. Let me see what I can do. And it was just, and so I just kind of focused on that for a long time.
And when you did that, were you still running your own business?
Kind of set it aside for a little bit.
Okay. So she was able to help you build your business and just get it all organized. And then what happened after it got organized? Did you stick around, or did you move on
Yeah, I'm
to?
still there.
She's my boss.
She's there forever. Well, you've got a good boss.
I do. And I tell people I am really lucky because it was like that. The phones are ringing all day. I'm out
Wow.
being the plumber, and I'm trying to do estimates or invoicing or bill collections or anything at all at night.
Yeah.
And she just saw it, and she's like, look, why don't you let me answer the phones today? You just go do your deal. And it started. It did. It worked, and it's a very it was a very smooth transaction. It was just like, look, this works. And it was really good.
So you started JW Etiquette, and then as Roger's business really started taking off, you just kind of put that to the side and started working in his business full time. And, you know, I'm curious, Roger, what made you want to start up a plumbing company out of all the things in the world that you can do as an entrepreneur?
Well, I've been plumbing since even when I was in high school.
Oh,
so
okay.
I've got almost 40 years in this trade, and I joined the union in '97 after 17 years of plumbing experience, and I had actually moved up to director of operations for a large mechanical contractor, and they were talking about getting into residential service, and I was sitting in these executive meetings, listen to the owner talk about they're going to advertise that they specialize in customer service and the best trained plumbers. And I said, okay, so what are you going to do? And she says, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what are you going to do for customer service and the best trained plumbers? And she says, well, our plumbers know how to say please, thank you, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And they've all got a license. So, I mean, and I'm like, okay, but there's no training here. And it blew my mind. And I knew then I don't want to see or be a part of a system like this. And I started looking for my way out, and I found it.
So your integrity really helped you make the decision of, hey, you know what? There is a way better way of doing this, and I have got the best partner to help me do that.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I mean, Julie is the most supportive person I've ever known. I could tell her tomorrow, you know, look, I want to go to work at Six Flags and run the roller coaster.
I could actually see him do that.
And she'd be like, you know what, if that's what's going to make you happy, you know, what can we do to make it happen?
Wow.
And I don't know where I came up with that. I mean, I love Six Flags, but, you know. But, I mean, she is that supportive. So I knew that, look, if I do this, you know, she's got my back.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, when I walked out and did it, I thought, well, you know, I don't need anybody to get my back. I got this. I'm a good plumber.
Of course you are.
And I'm going to do things right.
Right.
But you get so overwhelmed. And it's funny that we're down here because I know Michael Gerber, last time he was in town, came down here to do some video work. And he was my coach for a while. And Michael Gerber told me exactly what I needed to do. The problem is, me being a plumber, I didn't know how to do it. And I don't understand the accounting and this and that.
Yeah.
And, man, she was amazing.
So between the two of you, you guys are exceptional in everything that you do. And it's interesting, you know, my background is also in franchising. And in a lot of franchise organizations, there are husband and wife relationship ownerships, and we would even have classes to help people navigate the waters between you know, understanding where do you draw that line between work and home, because you're together all the time. So what are some of the strategies that you guys use to help help our entrepreneurs out there understand, you know, you can have a life outside of work and you can stay married while you work together?
I'll start off. We're part of groups nationwide that involve plumbers, electricians, roofers, HVAC people. And one of the last conferences we went to, 3 of the different couples were on stage, and they actually talked about their marriage counselors.
Okay.
And Julie and I are looking at each other, and she looked straight at me, and she says, the word's not counselors, the word is coaches. And, you know, I hired Michael Gerber as a coach.
Yeah.
I've hired Chaz Wilson as a coach and looked at things that he's done. And we look at, I've got social media coaches, I've got YouTube coaches, I've got LinkedIn coaches.
Yeah.
And now I'm becoming that coach. But it's so funny because just a few months back, we went to this conference and they were literally talking about their marriage counselors, and this is how we run our business because they all 3 work together. And I'm looking at Julie, and it's like, oh my gosh. And we have got what I think is one of the best marriage coaches that there is right here in Plano. And I mean, any couple working together, I mean, any of us that want to do good at something, we have coaches.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you want to have a great marriage, get a coach. And if you're going to work together, you really need it.
Yeah, I agree. What's been your experience?
Well, I think that's it. I think setting boundaries too has been huge. Like, okay, so we have date night, and during date night we have rules, and you don't pull out your phone.
Oh, no, wait.
I know.
I know.
It's tough.
And so,
As an entrepreneur, this is my lifeline.
Well, because our businesses consumed us for what, a year or two, and all of a sudden it was like we don't even have a Roger and Julie relationship anymore. It's all company related.
Oh, wow.
So when they said, go to counseling is kind of the negative word for men, I think. And so, when you say coach, I think people can relate to coaches rather than counseling.
Yeah.
Better. That's just my opinion. And so we've found Randy Bailey in Plano. He has been wonderful, and he helps kind of set the boundaries and, what are you working on? What are you struggling with? And we can just talk about it. And then when we go home, it's like, okay, now we have direction, we have clarity, and now we're Roger and Julie again.
Oh, good.
It helps us to separate.
A lot.
Yeah.
It helps us to separate that.
Yeah, because, if you don't, it feels like you're running on adrenaline all the time.
All the time.
You just
And he
never
can
get
do
to
that.
relax. And what I'm hearing is maybe you're not as comfortable in that.
I need downtime. I mean, I gotta let my brain rest.
Yeah.
His brain works all the time, and he's like, "Oh, I've got this idea," or "I was up last night and I was thinking about this," and I'm just like, "Just give me 30 minutes just to kind of chill."
Can you just write it down for a minute and talk about it after my second cup of coffee?
Absolutely.
Or third.
And I don't drink a lot of coffee because if I did, I don't think I'd ever sleep.
You probably
Oh no, you
wouldn't.
wouldn't. You wouldn't. That's
And
for sure.
Julie would be like, "Okay, honey, please take a chill pill."
And my problem is when I get
I've
up,
done that.
I want everybody up. I want it to be like, okay, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
I've got my mind's going. I got things I want to do.
And you want them to get busy with it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's the mind and the heart and the soul of an entrepreneur. It just never gets turned off.
Right.
And so it's good that you're learning about each other's tendencies and natural needs, because that's going to sustain things long term. It's when you ignore it and then you get sick and then everything falls apart because your marriage, somebody's sick and so you got to take care of them. Well, then your business is going to slow down because you got to take care of that person that is integral to your business. I mean, it's just all so intertwined. You are so smart to get a third neutral party to step in and just look at things that you can't see.
Right.
I love that term coaching, and I bet that you've got something cooking in the back of your brain as far as how you can help entrepreneurs in this type of a situation in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With your educational background, I can see it like playing out right now. I've got the outline in my head right now.
We'll get with you on
down.
that. Absolutely.
So, how do you balance now? Well, let me ask you this: are you now stepping away a little bit from the plumbing business and starting to focus on your business again? Mm-hmm. Okay, so how has that transition been for you guys?
It's been difficult because you've got, in order for one of us to step away, we have to have the right person in place. And so the key component is getting your right team in place. And so we've been working on finding people who can step in and do that, and we've done that. So now it's just kind of a transition, I think.
So do you oversee that person, Julie, still, since they're taking on your responsibilities?
Mm-hmm.
And which is a really good way to lead and manage, right? You know, you want to make sure that you're showing them what good looks like, but at the same time, you're stepping away and giving them enough rope to hang themselves.
Allow them to do it. Absolutely.
Because you can't, expect somebody to really take ownership if you don't let them, actually take ownership about it.
Exactly.
The position,
But having and that's a Michael Gerber. It's one of his key concepts is getting the people in place.
Right. So I know that, Roger, you've been really stepping into the social media thing, and we're gonna have you back on the show to explain that in a lot more detail.
Absolutely.
So how did you decide that, hey, I'm a plumber and I need to get on social media?
I really didn't. It's funny. One of the largest social media events in the world is Social Media Marketing World.
Okay.
It's put on by a guy named Michael Stelzner. He's got the Social Media Examiner, Social Media Society, and the guy's phenomenal. And I saw an interview, the event that I told you that we went to where we saw the business owners talking about coaching. We were getting ready to go to one just over a year ago, and I was looking at what classes I wanted to set in, what I wanted to learn, and it was mainly marketing. And the more I looked at it, I called Julie in the office. I said, look, I got a question. I said, I'm wanting to learn marketing, but do I want to learn it from roofers and electricians and HVAC people and whatnot? And we started doing research, and I said, look, I want to learn it from marketing people, from social media people. So I found this event, and it was 2 weeks before it was going to happen. So there were no discounted tickets, no
early bird
flights, no nothing. It was like, look, you're going to pay through the nose for it.
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it, and talk to Julie. And she said, look, if that's what you want to do, let's do it. And I walked in this event wanting to learn to market my company on social media. And I walked in Wednesday morning. I got there an hour early. I'm ready to go. The doors were open, so I walked in. I'm like, hey, look, I'm here early. Can I go ahead and register? And they're like, sure. So I get in, I sign up, and they hand me my badge, and I put it on. And the girl says, okay, you're a plumber. I'm going to find some...
Plumbers.
There's no plumbers here.
Well, good for you.
She says, what other kind of people would you hang out with? I said, I don't know, electricians, roofers, landscapers, painters, window cleaners, home service type people. And she scrolls through, and she looks at me, and she says, there's nobody here like you. And I smiled from ear to ear, and I'm like, you know what? This is great. And that's where it started.
Wow. Well, you guys have both given us really good teasers for the next parts of you guys coming back, so we can talk specifically with you, Julie, about what you're doing, and specifically with you, Roger, about what you're doing. So let our listeners and our viewers know how they can find you guys.
Well, you can find us all over social media. You can find me at JW Etiquette on Facebook. Also my website, jwetiquette.com.
And I'm Roger Wakefield, lead AP on LinkedIn, and I'm one of the first 12 people in the world doing LinkedIn Live, which is kind of neat. Yeah. But the best place to find me is on YouTube, The Expert Plumber. It's a great spot.
And I'm on LinkedIn too.
So there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again, Julie and Roger, for joining us today. And thanks to our listeners and viewers. Please be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We'll see you next time on Coffee with Claire. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with Claire. To learn more about today's guests, visit their website or find them on Facebook. To learn more about me, Claire Billingsley, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at coffeewithclaire.tv. And to hear more episodes of Coffee with Claire, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast and social media platforms.